Umstivilayaint and said IS's.
My opening question for both you guys is, what kind of breakfast do you like? And there are three categories of breakfast in my humble opinion. Is you have your sweets. That's gonna be things like donuts. That's gonna be your French toast. That's like anything with any sugar. Like you might buy at a donut shop. Then you have your savory breakfast. That's gonna be bacon, eggs, hash browns, kolaches, stuff like that. It's still gonna be hot breakfast, but it's not gonna be as sweet. And then the third category is dry breakfast. That's cereal, muffins, breakfast bar, stuff like that. What is your preferred breakfast?
This is a little different. This is not the same thought-provoking argument. This is
Well, yeah, we
so
can.
I guess it'd be pretty thought-provoking. Let's analyze some breakfasts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who knows the legendary bagel sandwich? You have a toasted bagel, a half of a toasted bagel, two halves, in order to form the sandwich. And you start with cream cheese on the lower layer, and then you put a fried egg on top of that, and then a piece of cheese which melts into the fried egg, and then you put the other half of the bagel on top of that, creating this cream cheese, egg, fried egg sandwich. The only flaw is that the yolk is in the center where the circle is, so when you bite into it, it drips a lot, which can be solved by cooking the egg hard.
Yeah. You say only flaw as if that's not the most crucial flaw in the entire structure of the sandwich.
It's important, okay? But you can do it. Okay, firstly, you can do it with toast too, so you can solve that problem if it's really a problem. But I personally prefer bagels.
My as I've discussed before, my breakfast sandwich is Texas fried toast, which is thick bread, and you basically fry both sides in butter, just very lightly, so you get the butter soaked into the bread. And then I do light mayo on both sides of the bread, and I do ham, bacon, sausage, hard fried egg, add just a little bit of thin slice of American cheese, and you close it, and you cut it in half, and you eat it.
That's
and
good.
now the mayo or the Miracle Whip is the controversial bit. I do light because I don't really do it for the flavor. I do it to keep the sandwich from being so dry from you cooking all these ingredients. But it's optional, and not everyone can do it.
Okay.
Like I said, I put mayo in egg sandwiches anyway. But so we're in agreement that savory breakfast is the official breakfast category of Checkered Thoughts podcast.
I think so far, but we are yet to hear Alien's opinion.
I usually just go for a waffle.
Oh, boo!
The lazy section.
That's the fourth unspoken. Anything you put in a toaster is lazy breakfast. Yeah. Okay. My big topic I've chosen to bring in today is metric system of measurements versus what I will eloquently call #America measurements. Basically, base 10 versus what we use here in America is basically base 12. You get a lot of 12s in America. You have obviously the dozen. You have 12 hours in a day. You have 12 inches in a foot. I used to be on the base 10 side. I used to think America, why you gotta be like this? But after a little bit of research and some things I learned in the past, I actually am completely in favor of base 12 in theory. It's just the implementation across a given time period of base 12 that would be difficult. So are you pro 10 or pro 12?
Okay, so I didn't do enough research on this topic. I'm gonna be honest. I think the theme of me being on this show is probably gonna me being pretentious and talking about things I don't know anything about. So I'm gonna be upfront and say that I don't know enough about this. But okay, quickly explain to me the reason why you converted to customary, because for every nice round numbers divisible by 10.
See, calling 10 a nice round number is like calling a square a nice round shape. I don't argue that base 10 isn't a good system. I mean, obviously we use it just for our Arabic numerals. But whereas squares are something that fit nicely with other squares, base 12 to me is is basically circles that can squish and squash, and they're more versatile. And that's a really terrible analogy, but roll with me. Base 10 has 4 dividers. It's 1, 2, 5, and 10. And that is not a very wide range you can divide that base 10 numbers into. If it's not divisible by 1, 2, or 2, 5, and 10, you basically have fractions. Whereas base 12, or even more versatile base 60 in minutes, 12 is divisible by 2, 3, 4, and 6. So now you have extra ways you can break up and divide this number without using fractions.
I can agree with you to some extent.
And I am in no way arguing that somebody that we call Congress tomorrow and say, hey, listen here, guys, we need to do this thing now. I am not arguing that. I'm arguing in the abstract, whereas if we could go back in time and change this thing, would I? Yes.
Yeah, so we won't have to pay money to convert all of our measurements and distances and everything.
But it's interesting to point out that
in yards rather.
It's interesting to point out that at least the world can agree on one thing for the most part. I'm sure there are exceptions somewhere. It's a big world, in that we all measure time essentially the same way, which is base 12 and 60.
Yes.
And this is amazing because 60 is such a good number to divide by, because it's divisible. Its divisors are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Minecraft people know about 64.
Yeah. Well, okay. 64 is not divisible by 10, and that's important. That's important. And 60 is good because it's not so big that people can't comprehend it. Like, I'm not arguing for base 1000. People can't really, if you think about it, you can't picture 1,000. But 60 is a number we come in contact to every day. It's, it's marks on a clock. And 60 has a nice wide range of dividers. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 15, 20, 30, 60.
Okay.
And these are divisible by a lot of things, and they group together. 15 groups with 4 because 1/4 of the clock is 15 minutes. And this is why I said base 60 to me represents a circle because of the clock, and base 10 is like squares. This is what can computers think in, even though they think in binary. It fits well, but you have no curves with squares. You can only do so much with a square, if that analogy makes any sense. So yeah. Base 10 definitely has its place. I think it works well with our current counting system, even though there actually is a counting system for base 12. It goes 0 through 9, and then you have 2 extra symbols. And the important thing to note is that these extra symbols, once you can recognize how that after 9 comes 10, but 10 isn't 2 digits, it's 1 digit, no math falls apart. Algebra still works. Geometry still works. Higher and higher tiers of math still work with base 12. All you have to do is change your formulas to realize that there's now 2 extra digits. And
yeah,
there's
okay. I haven't practiced much with like counting from base 12 or anything like that. Like, so
I don't even, there's a name for the digits.
This is another, I'm not going to say I'm an expert thing, but
I
can see the pros and cons of both, and I don't necessarily believe that I think the fact that the metric system would be almost universal if we converted to metric is more important than the actual practicality, or whatever that word is, of the system itself.
I'm not arguing because there's cost.
Probably biased.
Everyone is biased. There's cost of transition is the benefit you would gain by changing one thing to a better thing worth the time, money, and effort needed to do that transition. This cost of transition thing is important when you're thinking about switching anything. Like, the argument that this thing is better isn't enough. It's the betterness has to be worth what you're going to put in it to redesign how you think and do things.
Has to outweigh the price.
Yeah, the benefits have to outweigh the price. And so I don't think that this is something that's worth doing, but it's an interesting way to see that other cultures did go base 12. You know, they're just fine. And what would happen if we had done this? I've put a video in the show notes to Numberphile's video on base 12. And in that video, he points out that you can still count to 12 on your hands. And more importantly, you can count to 12 twice on your hand. So the normal way one would count 1 through 10 is holding your fingers up, and then I bend my finger in half to go 6 through 10 while still using one hand. But if you look at your 4 main fingers, each finger has 3 joints. So you can actually, the first finger, the first 3 joints is 1, 2, 3. Then the next finger down is 4, 5, 6. Then 7, 8, 9. And then 10.
I mean, there's some coordination problems. Like, I can't quite bend my pinky and ring finger.
But here's the thing.
Joint, like, without holding them with my other hand.
But here's the thing, though. You just hold your... No. Just hold your hand out. Like you're going to slap someone. And so you can take your thumb and you tap along each joint of your finger using the thumb. And that's how you count 1 through 12 on your hand. Your body is actually, it still works. So you would put your thumb to your tip of your... Your
thumb has 2 joints, dude. Yeah, rethink that.
No. Your 4 fingers, not your thumb.
Yeah.
Tip of your thumb. Yeah. I would watch Numberphile's video if you want to get a better understanding of what I'm talking about.
No, I don't think we should put in videos, not in the podcast right now. Okay, so...
No. Just like, I put it down in the show notes for those of you who want to.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay,
so...
You know, these people, I happen to know personally some of the people watching it, listening to this show. Chat etiquette they would do good to be educated in this topic. So let's talk about that.
So chat etiquette is we're going to talk at both text conversation and internet conversation at the same time. So my first question I pose is, I know the Apple phone and Facebook have the little 3 dots to indicate that someone is talking. Do you think it's appropriate while someone is talking to type over them?
Yeah, if I see that someone else is typing, I stop typing myself. And then if I see that they start typing again, I just leave it. Like, I try to wait as long as possible because I don't like to get in that awkward...
Yeah, see, now you guys are in a Mexican standoff.
One of you is not trying... Both of you are trying to not interrupt the other.
It's a stalemate, essentially. And then, I'm the same thing, where if I see that someone's typing, I will wait a little bit. But then have you ever seen that moment where you've seen that they're typing, but then a message never pops up, and you ask yourself, well, what were they going to say to me?
What was it going to be?
Now I'm paranoid. And then, so the other thing is, how long to you, and this can depend on the person, how long do you think is the longest acceptable time that someone can leave you on read?
Really, it's a unit, almost like a unit of measurement sort of thing. Like, is this period of time between them going to work and coming home from work?
So it's basically depends on the time of day.
Reading my message and then going to work or school or whatever, and then coming back, and then not responding until they're back. I wouldn't say more than 3 or 4 hours.
But if you're having an active conversation with someone, what is a reasonable pace that you can expect replies at? That would be considered not rude. Like if you texted someone every 45 minutes, you might think that you're not exactly being a priority right now. And that's not always a bad thing, but if it's a constant thing, what is an average you would expect without feeling...
An average, so you want every message that I would say.
Yeah, average. If you could choose one number to have...
That's 15 minutes average.
So if tomorrow every message you got was 15 minutes apart...
Oh, you know what? Not 15 minutes. That's kind of... on red is...
On red.
You can respond within 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And also you can turn off red receipts.
I can't figure out how to do it on Android. For the few... Not a lot of Android phones have it. And for the most part, to my know-how, that it has to be... You can only get red receipts from someone who has the same model phone as you. But I know that red receipt thing is really more of a... is really more Apple's note than anything. But because most web services now do it too. I mean, Facebook, not Discord. I I think Skype does read receipts now. I am not going to bet money on that though. But if you had to pick one, either everything had read receipts or everything didn't have read receipts, which would you choose?
Okay, if I were to
if you woke up tomorrow and you were king of the world,
no read receipts, or everyone had to have read receipts.
Would you rather choose like it's all or nothing, like every program, every person has read receipts, or the other way around, no program, no person has read receipts? You never know if they've seen your message. Which would you choose?
I think the privacy and option, that fact that the option is the most important thing. But if we don't have the option, it's one or the other.
It's one or the other.
I would say you shouldn't have read receipts, because then you're always, but like if it chooses between the option of forcing you to automatically share information on any internet, even if it's one specific person that you know, I still think that the privacy on the internet is the #1 priority when it comes to things like, well, basically anything on the internet. All information about anything you do, about when you did something, about who you are, it doesn't matter. It should be prioritized to not be like available by default.
And so, as we like to do, let's take it to the extreme. What if read receipts connected everything in life, as in bill collectors knew when you looked at the bill that they sent in the mail, or you've left someone a gift and you, for whatever reason, just know when they've opened it? Is this form of knowing when someone has performed an action, is it detrimental or beneficial to society? Like now we're talking about weighing the pros and cons of a thing.
No, I think it's, again, whenever you're communicating information, you should always
have the
you should always choose not sharing that information.
I'm gonna have to agree with you.
Like introverted, and I prefer that, like almost being a hermit here, and like just not like always never telling anyone about yourself. But I mean, considering that's how the way it is now, it's okay. The reader's priority is almost what I want to say.
And it sucks that I have to agree with you, because I was hoping one of the two of us could play devil's advocate. But I am in agreement that if it was one or the other, I'm going for the less knowledge is better. Like the less that the sender knows is better.
Internet Alien, can you play devil's advocate, or do you think it's important that everyone senders understand when they were read?
I think I'd have to agree with you as well.
No. See, go back there and go sit back in the corner and eat your waffle, okay? It's probably a plain waffle too. He just like toasts it and eats it.
Oh God.
You monster.
Or it's a waffle that he puts syrup on it,
waffle
and then
with Nutella.
Like absorbed the syrup.
Oh no, that's worse than. Okay. Side note: soggy cereal or soggy waffles? If you had to eat one.
You mean like soggy cereal is in a cereal that's been left out?
Cereal that's been soaked in milk.
Waffle soggy because it has water and it's like actually soggy, or because of
No, soggy as in cereal absorbed the milk or pancake absorbed the syrup, and it's just sitting there, and you basically have oatmeal.
Obviously, soggy waffles.
Soggy waffles, yeah. It's like soggy cereal is somebody has mixed water, cardboard, ground it to a fine pulp, and let it sit all day. That's my opinion. Let's not even get started on the fact that Cheerios are just cardboard.
All right. So now, okay. So we've decrescendoed from the main topic. We're reaching our smaller ideas here. Wasn't there something else? We've already done read receipts.
Is there something else we could?
A function of chat etiquette. Should we go into more depth with chat etiquette?
I mean, if you have any other points you want to bring up.
One big thing, I'm actually guilty of this. I did this today to advertise this podcast. I added a bunch of people to a DM and basically used it as an ad, and I'm a terrible, annoying person.
Oh, no. Shameless self-promotion. Shameless self-promotion.
I feel really bad, but I was like, hey, guys, you should come check this out. And to be honest, I'm beginning to realize that how topics are... I'm beginning to realize how truly good and thought-provoking topics are quite rare. and we're gonna have more like we're gonna have quite a few filler relatable topics that allow for some viewer participation.
Yeah, well, the thing is we don't have a democratic into what would be long hours discussion, which is your more current event / political related things.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's not something that we do.
Or random, okay? Like, what was that thing I put in topic suggestions? Something we said, just come up with something stupid / irrelevant yet thought-provoking.
Yeah,
there you go.
We need to discuss ridiculous impossibles in the most serious way possible.
So, well, not exclusively, but yeah.
Well, not exclusively.
That type of topic is rare. So, Hero, I hate to disappoint, but it's not going to be super interesting all the time.
Yeah, like I think the most interesting thing.
No podcast is super interesting all the time, and they're going to have specifically interesting topics. And I don't think podcasts very often get recommended as the podcast. It's like, hey, watch this episode.
Yeah, no, and generally I think you watch podcasts not always for the information, but for the people. Like I listen to my main podcast, Hello Internet, because I like the people. It's almost irrelevant what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the topic of chat etiquette, it brings in something that I wanted to ask: is have you seen the Netflix original Black Mirror?
Black Mirror?
Black Mirror, Mirror. No,
I have not. I'm sorry.
The premise of this is each season is only like 3 or 4 episodes. Each episode is standalone. It's about 45 minutes to an hour and a half long. And the point of Black Mirror is to exaggerate a point that technology is ruining humanity. Each episode is kind of takes a dark point on a lighthearted prospect of technology. For example, the episode I just watched, which is season 3, episode 1, it outlines a society in which every interaction you do, everyone you talk to, you rate them on a scale of 1 to 5 stars. And this rating isn't meaningless. It has actual effects on your life. So there are some buildings and jobs you can only get if you have a certain star rating. If you have a certain star rating, you can go into faster lines or get better products. If you have the best star, which is 4.5 or higher, that's your prime user. You get to do the best things in life. You get to enter all the best parties. You get to buy extra things.
Yeah, but the higher your star rating, the higher people are gonna rate you in the future, and they're like, "Oh man, this guy's 4 stars. I'm gonna rate him 4 or 5 stars."
But how is that any different than how we model celebrities now? A celebrity's fame is what keeps them famous.
But still, people have separate personal opinions. Like if it was like somehow they would mash all the descriptions of that person together, that would be similar. But that since it's like a number rating, it's not.
It's purely number, and it's purely on the fly. And so you want a prime example about how ratings can affect someone is look at Uber. You rate these drivers, and the drivers rate the passengers, and you can choose not to pick up people of a certain rating. So this is the point that where 5-star rating has gone from the digital world to it affects people, albeit not in a major way yet, but we're looking at a glimpse of what it could be, of rating affecting you forever.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting.
I understand. That's an interesting topic that's an interesting concept to introduce to real life, because that's almost ludicrous. It's the effect that other people's opinions. I feel like that also removes the very concept of self-confidence and self-image and self-esteem.
Exactly.
Because it doesn't matter what you think of yourself. All that matters is what other people think of you.
And that's the whole point. Is Black Mirror
affect people's sanity? That's like people would kill themselves because they're getting bad ratings. It's like a Yelp review.
Exactly, and that's the whole purpose of the show, is to take a little aspect that we hardly even think about in the world of the internet and technology today, and blow it out of proportion to point out the flaws in it. And spoiler warning, each episode is a little bit different, so you don't have to watch them in a particular order. But this episode starts with a young lady. She works in an office, and she pulls about a 4.2. That's below the prime range, but she's okay. She wants to go. She was invited to live in this apartment complex, but you have to be 4.5 or higher to live in this apartment complex and get the cheaper prices. So, but she's at 4.2 and she doesn't do a lot until her 4.7 friend asks her to be the maid of honor at her wedding. And various things happen, and as she's trying to get to this wedding, she basically becomes herself. She says things that people wouldn't normally say, because you don't realize is that this rating system makes you censor how you talk and do things. And so she's losing ratings, and she gets in trouble at the airport. And at the airport, if you harass people, you can lose a full point for up to a day. So she went down from 4 to 3 and 2, and she's losing everything. And finally, her friend calls her and says, hey, listen, all these people at this party, they're all 4.5s and higher, and now you're like this 2 point something, you can't come anymore. And it's kind of like a splash of cold water into the face, is that this is extreme, but you can see signs of this in today. Is like, you are not popular enough to be with me.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of the show, is what is technology doing to us as a species? I would highly recommend this show.
Okay, that triggers me. It makes me mad a little, because I really hate it when people are like, technology is ruining humankind.
No.
I get it. I understand where you're coming from in this general concept of having a community review, almost like a universal review of someone or something. And in this case, it's someone, which it could extend to very soon. People could have. I mean, it's almost like social media. Like, how many followers do you have? Oh, you don't have very many followers, except people are intelligent enough to realize that followers and your social media doesn't directly reflect your personality, your morals. But in this case, that's a rating of who you are, and considering there's sort of like rules, like that harassing people or insulting someone at the airport,
basically she was bothering.
That's different, because you could imagine, like, afterwards you apologize to them, but you still lose that rating. And so, despite being a good person, and because you can still make mistakes.
And it forces, in this particular episode, it forces people to be happy. It's trying to force people into behavioral boxes. And let me rephrase, I'm not saying that technology is ruining people. My argument is people use technology to ruin humanity as a whole. Technology is impartial. Things like the internet, that's nothing but a tool, and it's people. Everyday people who wield that and use it. And so that's what this show is. Our interdependence and sort of this one-on-one connection that people have with their black boxes that they hold in their hands or sit on their desk or carry in their pockets. And if you have Netflix, I would highly recommend this show, and I'm going to give it as homework for those of you guys who have Netflix. It does get into some adult topics. So just advisory warning, there's no nudity or anything, but there is some language and there are references to some things. But if you want to watch this, go ahead. It's on Netflix. It's called Black Mirror. The season 3 just came out. And if you'd like, watch it, and we'll talk about it in a future episode. We've already gone into detail about just one episode. Imagine there's like 12 episodes, I think now.
This could be a recurring... or each episode could be a separate topic, I imagine. Well, we probably won't do all the episodes because that's the same topic over and over again, but still each one...
Well, actually, I've seen about 4 episodes now, and each one is different enough that as long as we're not being too ambiguous or vague, we could probably talk about each episode every now and then.